GPP Chin Music. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11, breaking down stacking options and GPP bats to go with tonight. Texas, Baltimore here first. Two lefties on the hill. This is the highest total on the night. This is the best ballpark to target. I can see both sides of the game here. I mean, two lefties, two teams that are actually bottom 10 against lefties, but there are also obviously some notable guys that we want to target. We'll start with this Texas side. Miley's obviously the easier lefty to pick on. 379 will be allowed to righties this year. He's been awful of late. I'd rather take some bats. I know a lot of these right-handed bats are actually more reverse splits this year. They haven't really been all that great, but you look, guys like Adrian Beltre are still standout guys against left-handers. Mike Napoli, I'll consider 340 WOBA, 333 ISO. Carlos Gomez, Lucroy, they haven't been great against lefties. Andrus hasn't been great against lefties. Andrus has been fine his career against lefties, so I don't mind him. So I like the righties here in this lineup. I think the Shields is an intriguing option if he leads off. You just look at Miley. This is a guy who won, throwing more of a slider, fastball combination this year. Picking on some of those guys that do, hit sliders well. Andrus is not bad. Beltre as well. Napoli is okay too. So I mean, these guys actually match up it somewhat well with Miley. So I'm okay with targeting away with the Rangers bats. They're stackable. Of course, anyone against Miley is stackable. You can look that route. On the Baltimore side, I think attacking Hamels is probably more GPP territory tonight. So, none of these guys really have standout numbers against left-handers, but obviously Manny Machado hitting the ball well again. Jonathan Scope's intriguing. Trey Mancini, Wellington Castillo. I think those are all GPP playable. I think this is an interesting GPP stack as well, just because one, say you do knock Hamels around a little bit. I did talk about him being usable tonight, but we can see the other side of the coin here too. You look at Hamels. I think overall, there is some upside, but I think Baltimore obviously can get to him and kind of get to this pen too. So if that's the case, you get Hamels knocked out a little bit earlier. You get this pen that's been bad all year. So I'm okay with Baltimore. Like I said, I think Machado, Scope, Castillo, Mancini are the guys that you're looking at, but this is just more GPP because I do lean more on the side of Hamels in this one. Detroit, Kansas City, Michael Fulmer. This is a guy I just don't really like to pick on. He's got over a 50% ground ball rates, holding both sides of the plate to less than a 270 WOBA. He's just been incredibly strong. Doesn't allow a lot of power. Really limits damage. I don't really like anyone from Kansas City here. Moustakas, Salvador Perez, those are probably the two bats that I'll really only take a look at just because of their numbers against righties. 357 WOBA, 276 ISO against righties for Moustakas, 350 WOBA, 241 ISO against righties for Salvi. That's about it. There's kind of not a lot to look at. So on the Detroit side, I think you're more inclined to kind of use Detroit bats against Duffy. 330 WOBA to righties this year. He does pitch better at home. I'm kind of going to be looking at 1-off, 2-off spots here. Mickey Matuk's the guy, 333 WOBA, 232 ISO against lefties this year. James McCann, 452, 438 ISO against lefties this year. The guy at third base who's really been smashing is 390 WOBA, 367 ISO. It's Nick Castellanos, who's been really strong. Obviously, Kinsler up to Miguel Cabrera are firmly in play. And the Tigers bats are one of those ones where I just don't think they're going to kind of nail you. So I think they're cash game playable too. But I think there is some upside. Big ballpark, but yeah, it's about 100 degrees. You got wind blowing out a little bit. I do think 1 through 5, 1 through 6 is in play here with James McCann being that extra. I think on a limited slate, I'm okay with targeting Tigers in this one. New York, Seattle. This is the next one here. If you look at Felix Hernandez, I mean, obviously I think he's a guy who can limit damage tonight. I don't see a lot of upside with the Yankees, but I also can see the contrarian side of using a Gregorius, using a Judge, using a Sanchez against Hernandez because Hernandez just isn't the guy of old anymore. Would I stack Yankees? Probably not, but you look at Hernandez, I mean, yes, I think he's playable as an SP2, but I think the one-offs and GPPs you can make 391 WOBA to lefties, 354 WOBA to righties. I think he's okay. Their auto, I think he's been a little bit unlucky in terms of the home run department. But Sanchez, Judge, Gregorius are kind of your usual suspects here in this one. Moving forward, Seattle's the team that you probably just want to target the lefties with if you're going that route. Severino has got about a 15% lower ground ball rate against lefties. Strikeout rate drops. He's better off against right-handers, but he's still not bad against lefties. He's allowing just a 292 WOBA and 160 ISO. But I still think Kyle Seager, who's been hitting the ball really well, Ben Gamble, Robinson Cano are all three lefties that are in play in this one, but that's about it for me. Probably not a stacking situation in this game, but you can go that route. Atlanta and Los Angeles. On the Atlanta side, McCarthy's a guy I just don't think is going to go terribly deep into the game. I think they're only going to see about 1-2 at the most times through the lineup against McCarthy, and then they're going to get a really good bullpen. So Atlanta bats just not really on my radar tonight. You can always make the chem for some of their bigger bats like a Freddie Freeman, a Matt Kemp, a Matt Adams, but those are probably the only three that you can really take a look at against McCarthy. McCarthy's actually been pretty good against lefties, 243 WOBA, although some sort of regression is going to be coming in that department, but I don't know if that's going to be tonight. Dodgers side, that's kind of where you're going to be looking at with some of these lefties against Fulte. 375 WOBA to lefties this year, 30% line drive rate. Corey Seager, obviously Justin Turner against righties still, but Bellinger, Jock, Grandal, all great plays from the left side. That's kind of where I'm going to be headed. Utley, he's a guy who just doesn't offer too many upside if he's in the lineup, so I think you're going with the bigger bats from that side. San Diego, San Francisco, no thanks to the San Diego side. If you do want to, be a little bit different, Jabari Blash has been hitting the ball pretty well. You can look at him. Will Myers obviously is notable against lefties. He's top 10 in hard contact, so that's about it. But we'll focus more on the Giants side. Chacin's a guy who's pitched much better at home. Yes, this is still a great ballpark. He is rolling a fair amount of ground balls, but on a limited slate, I don't mind looking at some of these Giants guys. 348 WOBA to lefties. I don't mind Belt. I don't mind Crawford here. Posey, Span. I think they're all intriguing options against Chacin. Obviously the team total is not the best, but from a value aspect, I think one or two of them is not bad on tonight's slate because there's no offense that I'm completely in love with. I think it's going to be somewhat low scoring. So I think kind of getting those guys who can get those multi-hit games is actually going to be kind of somewhat promising upside tonight. So that's going to wrap it up. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out the great tools and content.